Well, there you are again. Charlie Greer podcast again. Today, we're going to talk about the Delphi murders. It's the murder of Abby Williams and Libby German. Again, I'm not a true crime podcaster, man. I do everything on my podcast. If you do, there's a lot of people that are going like deep dives and doing a lot of good work. Sleuth Intuition, It's a Crime and Shame, Gray Hughes. There's a lot of, because I just found out about this case like about not even a year ago. Whenever they did they released some footage about or some information about an online account, Anthony Shots. I think it was like November of last year. So it was on YouTube they suggest stuff. So I watched that and what? And then you go down that rabbit hole. And something just didn't right. I don't know if you guys don't know about the case, but these two girls, these young teenagers, these kids, were murdered. They called off school that day for a snow day, whatever it was. And they got video of the dude supposedly and audio. It's a small town. It's a lot of crazy stuff going on with this case. So I kind of got sucked into. I'm not a true crime podcaster. I'm a musician, artist, kind of. But one thing I do, I lived in LA for 24 years, is you learn to read people. You learn to know about bullshit. And let me explain that. Like financially, LA expensive. You just move into worse areas. You have to learn to adapt. How you do that? You learn how to read people. You learn how to hold yourself. So you get like this street sophistication, like this spidey sense. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm interested in this case. I'm not even really a true crime. I listen to a little bit of, like Zodiac Killer and Charles Manson, all the big, but this one is, there's some stuff going on and I can't even say a lot. Again, go to Sleuth Intuition. It's a Crime and Shame, Gray Hughes, whoever. There's a lot of good people out there that are doing a lot of good work on this. So anyway, we don't know how they were murdered. They went across this weird old bridge. A lot of you guys might know all this, but this is what I'm picking up. And corruption. For one, it's across the board. Forget about this little Delphi, Indiana. It's in every little town. They have embedded people that are like this and that. I'm this, I'm that. Then above them, that's it. They're all in these little groups. You know what the groups are. I ain't gonna say. Corruption. And then through this case, they've opened up a lot of, what CP means. They've opened up a can of, I've heard they went to France. It's a big thing. Something isn't right about this case. I think they know exactly who did this. I think that they are covering for people. Not everybody. I think the small town people know. I'm from a small town, 2,000 people in Tennessee. I know how. Something ain't right. Again, going back to my street sense, LA street sense, body sense. Let me ask you this. Can you tell when you're being lied to? Or not even lied to, being they're embellishing or lying by omission. They're not telling. Can you tell? I'm not trying to point a finger, but can you tell when someone's lying by omission, meaning not telling you all of it? Because by the police's own account, they had to shift gears, and first they released an old man picture. Now they got this young guy. What? That tells me that they made some mistakes. They, again, it's tough. You're not prepared. These small town cops, and also the DA. I don't even know who the DA is in this town, but let's just say about DAs. Most DAs around don't go to trial. They want to plead out, and so they get like, I'm 98% success rate with my whatever. They don't give it. They don't know how to. So there's all these little covering for make myself look whatever. But something I do know, and I guarantee you this was a CI, a confidential informant. When they're involved with something, even if it's kind of further down the trough, they'll cover because they don't want them to explain, well, he was my confidential informant. So I have a feeling that like there's a confidential informant involved. Whoever that is, I don't know. So they got this guy's voice. Is there a confidential informant close to this that hasn't spoken, who isn't talking, who's kind of hiding, like saying hide in plain sight? Maybe so. Maybe so. Again, it's not even like a planned conspiracy. It's just like, oh, well, I'm a dipshit, this, that, And again, there's other people that know about this case. I just found out about it like not even a year ago, but it kind of hit me and kind of sucked me in because of these elements, because I can see these boss hog sheriffs and stuff like, can they even pass a physical? I'm not trying to fat shame anybody, but come on, man, with their hats and this and that, and then, don't even remember. Well, it's a shit show. And then the FBI above him, he got in trouble for some stuff too that kind of ties in with, you see, there's levels to this. And it's all, you think like, well, the FBI is the best. They should be. In the perfect world, they would be, but not if you replace people. Again, we're pickled in corruption, even small town corruption, meaning I'm not talking about like conspiracies. I'm just talking about like, well, my daddy was so-and-so and this and that. And we're both in these groups and we will cover, they're brethren. People don't want to, I also have a feeling this won't be solved just because of, what I just said about like people, they all know each other. And there's a bunch of crime going on in Indiana. What is going on? Again, bigger crime organizations will use a small place like that. Little small town, they're cheap to buy out. So you got to buy people out, this, that. I'm not saying that they are, but that's how they do it all through time. It's not even now. Go back to Babylonian, man. Everything is Egyptian. Come on. Nothing is what it seems to be. And sometimes smaller towns have even more corruption or cronyism, nepotism, favoritism. I think that's what's going on. I think people are like covering for themselves. I also think there's more people connected than they think. And let me just like throw some like abstract thought at you. So like this Indiana State Police guy, Doug Carter, who I think was a theater major. I don't know, somebody was saying like this. So he did they do this press release. And he says, he might be in this room, whatever that they did. Let me just throw one at you. I'm not saying this happened, but you got to think outside the box. What if whoever wrote that, the FBI, gave that to him to read right before he came out? Because he's acting he's just, something's going on. Is he the one hiding in plain sight? I'm not saying he is, but you have to eliminate people. Process of elimination. You have to go through everybody, man. I know it's not, you get me pointing the fingers at this, that, and the other, but you got to realize that stuff. I don't know. I'm just thinking that because they're saying it's attached to some kind of online account. They were lured out there, whatever, and there's other people that have this account. I mean, it's kind of a Agatha Christie mystery, wrapped inside a riddle, wrapped inside again, I'm not a podcaster. There's people that dedicate that's all they do is this Delphi murder. So I would, if you really want to know, go see, there's some good people out there that are just doing work, man, and care. Again, this is just my humble opinion, but something is not right. Something is afoot. Okay. Let's just say people who have done crime with the cops. Doing crime with the cops. That happened. Let's just say people that have beat up cops. Again, I don't think along I had to live in LA, so I saw this corrupt, but a lot of criminals and stuff going on are not thinking like normal people. They're not, you wouldn't think these thought patterns unless you were in that world. People are narcissists and sociopathic and psychopathic and in the video they have this dude. At first he was kind of short and stocky. Now he's taller and his voice has changed. The first audio they had of the guy, now it's different. And I know that they could probably clean up video and audio. That's kind of tough. And too much gain or too much bass, you might sound, but I think that I think this happens everywhere too. I don't think this has got the spotlight of the world or whatever. But I think a lot of this is everywhere, unfortunately, or in anywhere you can go without this kind of stuff. And I think it's a bigger sting operation than people think. I think there's something else. Obviously, they've said they've opened up a ring of whatever. And also, it's like Occam's Razor. It's the simplest explanation is the truth usually, and I guarantee that's part of that too. But part of it is some kind of like secret group, meaning an organization, people getting together, whatever that is. Could be criminal. I don't know. They know each other, especially in a small town. Something is afoot. I think they know. I think that they know. I think a lot of people know. But I also, again, I think that there's a confidential informant involved. I think that has to do with some kind of illegal activity, whatever that may be, because there was people out. This happened like in a park, like a trail system where there's other people. I mean, hey, they're not releasing a lot of info, and I feel so bad for the families and those girls, man. Come on, that's what at the end of the day, I mean, it's about these kids that were murdered. We can't. I guess it was pretty bad. I mean, they're not saying, but they gotta release more info. If it's an ongoing case, if it goes cold, then they can. If they're not, I mean, there's just things that people know that there's something going on. And I even think these podcasters, because they've done a lot more work and interviewed people and went there and all these other things. I think they know too. I think that some of them know a little bit they don't want to say, or they're just kind of speculating, or they have a few speculations and one of them is kind of, or it could be a lot. Again, it could be, some of these people could have different theories, but they're the same, you know what I mean? There's different people. It's all this one, soup. It's all together. It's this, but the kids, man, that's what we gotta, if it can happen there, it's going to it is happening. And unfortunately, people go missing, kids go missing every year. We gotta figure this out. Something else was going on. And there could have been levels to that, meaning, the best spies are ones that don't know they're spies. The best slaves are ones that don't know they're slaves. I mean, when you're dealing with intelligence, I mean, people, that's what they call it, but basically you're just like holding people down. There's intelligence community. It's lying and holding people down and not sharing this and lying by omission and something. That little group, that little area had something else going on. Maybe it was easy pickings for certain. I don't know. My gut feeling tells me that there's good people and there's bad people behind the scene, and they know. And why they can't, again, the FBI, who were right on the scene, that main guy, he's got in trouble for some other stuff. And not some of these cops have gotten in trouble for. And you would think that we'd have an independent body that could sweep in and regret, but I mean, the wheels of justice runs, turn slowly. If I were, this is the thing, man, people aren't wanting to come out and talk about this for some reason. Again, if you're in that little bubble, if you're in that town, maybe you can't, maybe you know what's going on. And it's surrounded by these really rich people and houses, have a lot of land. I mean, there's so many angles to this. You could go down so many rabbit holes, and maybe that's why it's taking so much time, is they got a lot of rabbit holes to go down. And, what? See that? And maybe they were lied to by people they trusted. They're saying, okay, when you watch the video of the guy, if you haven't seen like a BG bridge guy walking down, what I focus on is the legs, because he's kind of got like this weird gait. And then I went down the rabbit hole and watched, this and that, Sleuth Intuition and whoever. There's a few people around there that have that. There's a couple that have that leg, that walking, Okay, you don't want to point fingers. I've been in situations where people are accusing me that I didn't even do anything. I get it. You don't like, it ain't cool. But a process of elimination. You've got to get rid of everybody. You got to get, okay, not him. No. To your left with this. You can't just go, well, I know him. I grew up with his father. And no, none of that. Old school, little town, small town, whatever. favoritism, cronyism. Got to get rid of that. You got to have a process of elimination. It isn't him. It isn't them. It isn't them. It isn't them. It isn't that. Get everybody out of the way till you finally, and maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're finally doing that. And it takes time. And since it took so much time, now you go back, people's memories, or, they've asked, well, see what happened. I don't know. I would say, this is, again, my humble opinion. I'm just an artist guy. I'm not a musician, blah, 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 There's other people that have done more on this case. I'm just doing my podcast. And when I'm doing my podcast, I'm doing this, that, true crime, Bigfoot, my past. I'm mixing it all up. So this will be the only video I do of this. It's not like there's other people that are really good, dedicated, want this solved. And something about this case, again, when I watched that, it was in like November of last year, maybe October, and they released the Anthony shots, and they had this police officer with a funny hat come on. And I'm like, what? Like, they know that somebody was catfishing them. And they arrested a dude. But he doesn't matter. I don't know. Again, it's an Agatha Christie mystery. It's a mystery wrapped inside a riddle, wrapped inside a spider web. But I think it's not as sophisticated as people think. See, there's an underlining theme. When you got drugs involved, and that area is a problem. Where I'm from in Tennessee, where I'm at now, it's everywhere. But in fact, I think there's other things like this that are happening, but for some reason, Delphi has got the spotlight on it. I'm not pointing the finger at Delphi. I'm sure there's good people, and it's sad that it's the world, man. It's just the world we live in nowadays. And my street sense, I'm not a psychic, but man, I can read people pretty well. I had to learn to, because I was living in bad area, in LA before they went cool, just because of a financial, first living in Hollywood, then you just keep going east and east. Next thing you know, you're in Echo Park before it was hip, and Highland Park, just like this. It was dangerous when I'm doing my art shows downtown and dealing with people, and just, you get to get a little grit on you, and you have to read people. And unfortunately, what I'm reading is this local police, and they weren't ready for some kind of, and it put the spotlight on their, some of these police officers. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying that to deal with some kind of sophisticated crime, and you got the spotlight on you, that's tough if you've never dealt with it. When you're dealing with like small town crime, and then all of a sudden it's dropped in your lap, this kind of, and everybody there, the FBI and this, that, I get it. That isn't corrupt. That's just like, damn, man, I've never dealt. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you fish, and then all of a sudden you're thrown into some kind of like world championship. What? You just don't, you're not your experience level. And then on the other hand, if you're hard-headed, I don't need no help. Yeah, you do. You need help. You need like independent investigator. You need somebody to come in here and look at this. And maybe they have. Maybe they've had people come in and maybe when they shifted gears like they did, and the old man went to the young man, maybe that young guy, they told him too much about maybe they were I don't know. I think they know. I think they're close, but I just think that this might not be solved because of certain aspects. I don't know what they are. I just get it. My gut feeling is this is going to go on. Yeah, it's not good. Unfortunately, you would think that it would be solved, unless there's certain things. Again, I think that there's like a confidential informant, maybe a few, maybe they all were. I don't know. Is there a confidential informant out there that hasn't spoke, who is not speaking? Never see any video of them or their voice. I'm just asking. I don't know. I don't know. Again, I don't know enough about the case. A lot of times when I listen to these podcasts, I do it at night. So I'm doing something that's just in the background, or I lay down and fall asleep, and I never listen to it all. I'll just just be asleep. Something is not right. Cops are people, man. People are people. People are. There's a lot of things I don't want to say. Corrupt, I should say. And a lot of times corruption is just small. If you this is say hey, I gave my boy, he's the sheriff, now I am, you're the mayor, you're the this, that, my cousin, my uncle. That's corruption. But you're just saying, well, I'm just getting them jobs. They're my family. That's corruption. We're all guilty of certain things. But man, my spidey senses go off. I can't say certain things I don't want to say about when I see the cop. I know certain things. I'm pretty much dead on with my radar. Certain things going on that day. Let's just say that their truth windows are nailed shut. I mean, they got another board for a minute. I mean, I live my life. My truth window is open. We all have a truth window. Okay. A lot of people don't want. No, I'm not dead. My mind is open. I don't care. People nail their truth window. They got, I think that's what's going on. And then you add another person, another truth window. It's just, they have things to hide, even if it's in their personal, because they might I know this person because I do something that people don't know I do. So if I expose that, it'll expose me, that kind of thing. And then that goes down the trough, up the whatever. I think that's what's going on. I think that because for one, it's a small town. They all know, especially if you got a little bit of land and money, you know everybody. You're on the board here, and this. I went to high school, played football. I mean, come on. I'm from a small town. I know certain things, They believe me. Again, I don't want to accuse anybody. But those poor girls, they deserve justice, man. It's been going on what? It's 5 years now? And even the police admitted that they had to shift gears. They had to. And what does that mean? Shifting gears. Is that a tell? Was there, again, the state police guy, Doug Carter, did he even get to look at that before he went on what he read? Because he was reading. Every word is. Did they just hand it to him? Like, hey, go, get out there and read that. So he's processing it as he's reading it in front of every camera in the world or whatever. Were they looking for reactions for people around them? Or people in that, again, he said it might be in this room, hiding in plain sight. So I think that's what's going on. I also think there's more than one. It is one dude. Or woman. That's another thing people are talking about. Could be a woman. Could be a man and a woman. A couple dudes and a couple girls. Who knows? Maybe there's people that actually did. Again, you can lure somebody in. Oh, come on, we're going to do this. Oh, what do you got? Then they won't. You bring them up on a murder scene. Help me. You don't want to get called. And then they can't say anything because then they'll be implemented. I don't know. Maybe, again, you got to think outside the box. The sheriff there, he admitted he was they were looking into him. He was a suspect. And he's got that kind of funny walk. I don't know how much he looks like. Again, that video could have been manipulated. We don't know. Again, there's a lot they're not telling us. They don't tell how they die, none of that. And maybe that's why I kind of keep up on this case is because, again, I just found out about it, but I don't know, not even a year ago. It's because it's aggravating me, and I feel I want justice for these innocent girls. Kids are kids, whatever they were doing. They're still not sophisticated enough to, they deserve that. And the families, think about the mothers of these kids. Brutal. I have empathy. And it just, that night I saw that video, then I went down that rabbit hole, and there's people that, anytime you have something like this, people come out of the woodwork, and not every podcaster I like on this case. There's somebody's kind of, but there's some good ones too. And they're out daily. They're working on it. I mean, and they got jobs. We got to take our hat off to these, like independent, they're doing a good job. And they might be the one that pops this thing up. Because the cops are saying we only need one more Pete. What is that Pete? Somebody's saying, yeah, it's him. I mean, of course, people are lying about alibis. That's what people do. And everybody, the guy who's, the girls were found on his land, he lied, and then he went to jail for drinking and drive or something crazy. I mean, it's all. But again, I think it has to do with confidential informants, people that were doing things that they didn't even know they were doing. Okay? Like, see, crime is weird. In Keith Richards' book, Life, he talks about his management, this is early 60s at the time, their management for the Rolling Stones. They were like, hey, we make some money. We want to buy some cars. Like, oh, you want to test drive a sports car? Okay. And then Keith, show up to test drive this car. So they're driving around like, oh, pull over around this corner. And then he's like, we'll be right back. It turned out they robbed a bank or a diamond store. And next thing you know, he's a getaway driver. Like, what the hell? What? Hey, they didn't tell him. Now you got to keep your mouth shut, kind of thing. It's in his book. He talks about it. They could do it to him. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm not pointing the finger, but man, criminals are pretty cunning and sophisticated, especially when they're mentally ill. Meaning, obviously, whoever did this is a psychopath, narcissist, sociopath. Just a, bad. And there's going to be, if it does, because I just hate that. I hate to say this. I just don't think it's ever going to be technically solved. I think people are going to, I almost have a feeling someone's going to pass. Somebody's going to die, and then it's going to go cold. They're not going to, and everybody's going to know that was the, maybe not. Maybe I'm just dumb, but I have a feeling something is not, of course, something isn't right. Say, solve this thing. But I pray for these families, man. Pray for these kids. And take your hat off to some of these YouTubers that are really doing the work. I mean, shit. Every day these people. So hopefully they will find these. Again, I think it has to do with they know. I think some people always knew, and then there was a fight between the police. Like, no, it's this, it's that. No, you gotta, that happens too. Maybe finally people are on board, or maybe it's split. Maybe there is a split. Well, we want that, something. And give these YouTubers some love, Sleuth Intuition, It's a Crime and Shame, Great Hughes. I forgot a few other, And I like all of them for different reasons, And I don't listen to all of, it's just like, I'm just, hey, again, I'm not a true crime podcaster. Don't come at me like, you did that. I'm just, it's my humble opinion. But I love y'all. Be blessed. And I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.